authenticity is big in like hip hop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a whole thing. And I know you've mentioned that a bunch actually yourself. But what do you think about hip hop going from a lot of truth, untold stories of the people who perform it and things like that? And now it's like there's a lot of flashy, braggy stuff. I'm not saying I like the watch. I think it's dope. But there's a lot of guys, they only talk about the watch. That's all they got.
Well, I think for one, hip hop has become so expansive. You know what I mean? It's grown and evolved into an amoeba of things. You know, so I think that there is a place for that, although that place may not be in my particular library of music on a normal basis. But then again, there are some places, sometimes where I feel like that kind of energy would kind of suit the mood of the evening for me. So I mean, I don't necessarily shun it. I just know it has to be done and it has to be kind of enjoyed within moderation.
Sure.
It's not there to lead, direct, and inspire the culture, but it is there to entertain. You know, it is there to kind of, I guess, enlighten. It's there for aspiration. Now, if you talking about a bunch of jewelry and your jewelry is fake, however, that is something I would have a very, very, very genuine disdain for.
Although it is very practical. Like that diamond right there, you might want to have a fake one of those just in case somebody lifts that
No,
thing.
I just have insurance on this one.
Okay, that's okay. That makes sense too.
I mean, but all of these things are just things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like these things are just things, and they're ornaments of sorts. And along the way, I've afforded myself certain items of luxury that most people, from a practicality standpoint, may feel like, yo, this is excessive. And maybe they're right. However, I know people who may not have even made as much money as me who have far more. You know, so I think that I tread the line between excessive and moderation. You know what I mean?
Speaking of moderation, I saw them lay out tequila and snacks for you out there, and I said, "What? You do that for T.I. and I don't get any snacks."
I mean, but did you request any?
No, but now it makes sense, right? If you don't get it,
right?
Yeah, you don't ask, you don't get.
You get 100% of nothing that you ask for.
That's true.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Although I did notice that it's Don Julio. What happened to Patron on ice?
You know what, man? That was actually, like, at the time I made that, I couldn't really drink. You know
At all?
I couldn't drink. You know, it was part of my pre-release,
probation?
My pre-sentencing bond restriction.
Ah, okay.
You know what I mean? Part of that was not drinking. So Patron sounded like just as good of a drink as any, but now that I can drink and I really, really care about, like, you know, how something tastes and if I would like it and the quality of it, I find that I myself prefer 1942 over a bottle of Blanco Patron.
What time do you usually start? You should do one right now.
See, that's the thing. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
there's
can we
no
do that?
time limit.
Amanda, can we? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing about not having a boss. You can turn up at any given moment.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I need to. I'm making some notes here. I got to have deeper entourage, snacks on deck, and Don Julio on ice.
This is the thing now. You can't just go and take everything as face value. You know, you got to dig beneath the surface. See, I do have an entourage. There are several people here with me, but all of them serve a purpose. So you must have a purpose for entourage. Everybody must have an obligation, a task, a duty, or responsibility. You dig? You don't just have people running around sucking up your budget of expenses for nothing.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
So all these guys are ROI positive somehow.
Yes, absolutely.
What do they do? Like, I mean, they're nice so far.
I have a photographer there. I have my assistant there. I have my cousin who is also an artist there. I have my co-branding marketing strategist there. I believe, is there security in there? There may be a security guy there.
They all kind of look like they could be security, though.
Yeah, but they're not, though. There's only one guy designated for security. You know what I'm saying? And even him, if he don't have a firearm, they start shooting, he's going to be running with the rest of them.
That's right. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I feel you there. I know you actually, you're no stranger to that, though. You dropped out of high school, spent early years as a drug dealer, arrested several times before you turned 14, which actually, to me, is insane. That means that you're not doing that for street cred at age 12, 13, 14 years old.
Nah, that was kind of like a means to an end. I was more so a victim of circumstance, a product of my environment at that moment in time. Absolutely.
We can do that.
Bring it
Feel
in.
free to interrupt.
Ice, please.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting it.
Oh, okay.
Hurry.
All right, so we'll wait for the ice. So you're a victim of circumstance. Sorry,
I don't even want to call myself a victim. Let's say a product of circumstance.
Product of
of my environment. I am a refugee of the war on drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Refugee, as in like it came to you.
Exactly. It was brought to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I am a survivor of the crack era. You know, and I feel like anyone who came up when I came up, who lived where I lived, like for the most part, 99% of us, we got in the mix because that's what it was for us to do. And I mean, now I'm not proud of it, but a lot of the principles and values and morals and code of conduct that I'm praised for today came from those times and those experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you got your birthday coming up. We're the same age, so I remember.
What? How? I mean, what's your birthday?
February 26th.
February 26th. So you at the top of the year.
That's right.
Okay, cool. So you about to be 39 next year?
I'll be 40 next year.
40 this February.
That's right.
Good God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I got that baby face.
Hey, man, well, see, that's the thing. Like, on your 39th birthday, right? What the fuck is there to do?
Nothing.
It's nothing really. Like,
No.
I just hold out to next year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no need to have a big bash this year.
Nah.
Because all year, you're going to you're going to double down next year.
What are you going to do for your 40th birthday?
Ah, man. It's going to be extravagant. I don't really like extravagant parties and stuff like that. I've done so many of them, and I feel like the more you do next year, the more you do.
Yeah, you have.
And then the next year, the more you do. And you get to a point where the bubble bust. It's like, man, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I just kind of gave myself a little minute to kind of humble down and, you know what I mean, just let it neutral out. So now on my 40th, I'm going to do something big.
Nice.
Usually on my birthdays, I do something private, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
for me and the people around me. We might go travel, you know. I'm thinking about south of France or something like that.
People there must be like, what's happening when you roll in with your with everything from the entourage, the family, to all your people must be like, who is that all the time?
Sometimes, and I always get the thing like, you know, the thing that they do, which is funny to me. They'll come up to me and they'll apologize. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. That's not your fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I actually appreciate that I can go somewhere where you can just, you know, appreciate me for me or whoever or whatever you think I am. I don't really like, you know what I'm saying, people put on fake faces just because they think that I could be their one shot at success.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a huge fan. Oh, really? Of what?
Yeah. And then kind of when people see other people take pictures, like if a fan come up and say, hey, I love your music, I love your movies, I would love to take a picture, and I take a picture with them, and then somebody else come up, listen, I don't know who you are, but can I have a picture too?
Yeah, just
Why
in
do you
case.
want a picture?
Because they're going to put it on Instagram, and people will be like, oh, you met Dip, and they'll be like, oh, that's who that is.
That lacks authenticity.
Definitely.
That's why I'm discouraged from doing that.
I know that you had kind of a weird up and down, right? Because you were supposed to perform at BET HipHop Awards.
Mm-hmm.
You get popped for like weapons charges hours before that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people go,
October 13th, 2007.
Yeah, wow, you still remember the date.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, people are like, oh, this guy can't get it together. You know, what's going on here?
Well, guess what? At that present moment in time, they may have been right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But there are a lot of determining factors that were in play that people don't know about. And some people, unless you're in the know, you still won't know about.
Well, when I heard about that, people go, oh, man, what's this guy doing? He can't keep it together. And I think, if you're 27, 28, whatever it was at the time, and you're buying a bunch of weapons, you probably think that you need them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not
or
doing
have
it
been instructed by people who you put in position
Yeah.
for protection that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that people don't really understand. Like, you know, I was kind of, I don't want to say coerced by my security at the time to, you know, upgrade my level of equipment. And every time I upgraded my equipment, He went and purchased it, but he purchased it for much less than he told me that it would cost.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? So it behooved him to continue to motivate me to buy more equipment.
Right.
And he said this in his statement. You know what I mean? As I got my discovery, and I read through my discovery and kind of read how the case unfolded. It was really him asking the man at the gun store if he could get the same items for half price under the table. That's what
Oh,
he
so his
asked.
side hustle was skimming cash off your defense
Right,
budget.
right. So he asked that guy that. That guy called the ATF. When the ATF gets to him, he tells the ATF, well, it's not for me. It's for my boss,
Right.
T.I. And I guess the ATF say, oh, hell yeah, that'll be a much better headline.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
And
going to get
so-
promoted now.
Yeah, exactly. And so, here they come to the Walgreens on the day of the awards.
What I found interesting. Oh, sorry, Amanda.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Let's expedite this
That's
ice.
right.
There you
Oh,
are,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Now, where I'm from, we do what we call pouring our own troubles.
All right. So you basically give
Picking
yourself
our
the
own
amount,
poison. That's
the amount
right.
that you need.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
I don't
you
have
can't
to drive.
blame me for your debauchery.
I don't have to drive, but I am a wimp. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. I thank you for having me here on your pod, man. It's I think that they told me that you have one of the most kick-ass ones around.
They are full of shit. Yeah. But I appreciate them covering for me. I like that. Well, I will say that what I found interesting about this was you get popped for that, but then there's a plea deal, and it's, hey, I need to stay out of prison for 1 year because I'm mentoring 58 at-risk children.
No.
Oh, sorry, at 58 schools.
Yeah, see, that wasn't necessarily, it wasn't me saying I need to stay out for a year. It was them saying, I tell you what, if you want to earn this downward departure, we will give you 1 year to complete these tasks. If you complete these tasks while staying completely out of trouble, keeping your nose clean, at the end of that 1 year, you will come back for sentencing, and we will grant your downward departure, and you'll have a year and a day.
So there's something massively admirable in that you not only completed that, but you didn't go, all right, I'm done with my community service. You're involved in politics and civic life now. I saw that Revolt panel with Candice Owens. That went smoothly. What happened there?
I mean, man, Candice is a brilliant. She has a brilliant mind, and she has some formidable concepts. However, I feel that her brilliance has fallen into the wrong hands and is being used for the wrong purpose. And I just think it's incredibly damaging and irresponsible to spew the type of rhetoric that she tossed around. But that does not pin me or place me against Candice specifically. Candice she's still a sister. I still respect her. I still have love for her. As I said, I thought she was, she's just on some bullshit at that present moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that wasn't our first time meeting. That wasn't our first discussion. It probably won't be our last. I just think that, if she could use her brilliance for something other than covering for the inaccuracies or the diabolical intentions of the president, the divisiveness of the president. It's not even about the Republican Party. I don't have a problem with you being a Republican. I'm not arguing on behalf of the Democratic Party. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a rich person from the ghetto. So that's kind of like an oxymoron for real. Like, I have Republican interests. I also have Democrat interests because I come from the place where people who depend on Democrats to do what they need to do to service the community. And if they don't do that, then, we end up in situations like I was in. You know what I mean? But the Democrats have also done things that put people in the situation that I was in.
Yeah.
Okay, however, right now I'm a man with money. And there are certain fringe benefits, perks, and things that I could benefit from personally from the Republican Party. However, that's not worth my self-respect.
No.
That's not worth
Yeah,
my
you're the one that has
heritage.
to go to bed in.
That's not absolutely. And more than I want anything for myself, for my children, and even for Candice. I want to be on the right side of history.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In 25, 30 years from now, when we look back, we're going to remember how horrible things were right now. We're going to remember, where everybody stood in this face of adversity. And I just don't want my legacy to be, well, I just let it happen
Stood
because
by.
it was beneficial for me.
Yeah, got a good tax break, didn't look at it again. Yeah, I mean, you've said most black people, at least where I'm from, we don't get to go to college, we go to prison.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty crappy outlook for somebody growing up in your neighborhood.
Mind you, even though it costs less to send us to college than it does for us to be in prison.
Of course, no arguments against the economics there. I think
Right.
it's terrible. I think, you said just because I fell in something, it doesn't mean I have to stay down in it. So you've got obviously a lot of upward mobility or that you saw within yourself. I mean, when you were that age, were you thinking, I can't imagine that you were thinking, oh, I'm just going to sell drugs for a while, then I'm going to become a famous musician.
Well, to be perfectly candid with you, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Really?
I
At what
promise to
age, though?
God. I started rapping at about age 8 or 9 in 3rd grade. And then I was just doing it like
How? Who was your inspiration back then, actually?
LL Cool J.
Oh, of course, yeah.
LL Cool J, NWA, Too Short, like the most provocative, just loud, the most prolific voices of the time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were
No,
saying
not at all.
that was the plan the whole time.
That was the plan. That was the plan. I was going to do music until I was going to sell drugs until I earned myself the opportunity or found my way to the opportunity to become a musician or an artist.
How did you even find out about crack? Like, it's all around you, but somebody must have been
Outside
like,
my door, absolutely. I used to sell candy, so
Okay.
I'm an entrepreneur by nature.
Yeah, it
I
sounds
started off in 4th grade selling candy because I used to travel from Atlanta to New York to visit my father every summer. And the end of every summer, my dad would give me maybe $300-$400, and some school clothes, send me back home to live with my mama. My mama lived in the ghetto on Section 8 food stamps and welfare. So I knew that I had to stretch this $300-$400 until Christmas when I'd see my dad again and get another bankroll. So what way could I do that? The only thing that I thought, it was a candy lady in my neighborhood. In my apartments, there was a candy. It was all, no matter what apartments we moved to, there was always a candy lady. But when I went to school, there was no candy person. So I figured, hey, I'll take the same principles of the candy lady, and I just go to school, and I make me $20 a day. That'll be $100 a week, and that's $400 a month, and that ought to stretch me from September to December.
$20, that's a lot of candy. You're selling like a ton of candy.
It is.
And then you saw the margins on crack, and then
I had an operation. By the time I got to 6th grade, my candy operation had evolved to where I had other people working for me, 3 or 4 lockers, people selling candy for me on different hallways, and I might have made $300-$400 a week.
This business model does sound familiar for anybody who's watched The Wire or grew up in your neighborhood.
$300-$400, maybe $500 a week, and I'm walking to my bus stop and I see an older gentleman who was probably in high school or something. We used to throw the football around every now and again, so I knew who he was, but I also knew he didn't ride my bus. So I was questioning, like, what you doing out here right now? And he's like, yo, I'm hustling. And I was like, what do you mean? And that's when he introduced me to crack. He was like, well, and he had what you call breakdown dimes. Breakdown dimes is if you buy it for $10, you're supposed to be able to break it in 2 or 3 pieces and make $20 or $30 off of $10. So those margins, those profit margins, that's 200% profit. I'm into that.
Yeah.
So that very day, I took $50 and bought me 5 breakdown dimes and broke them in half, and I made $100 before I got back home.
I mean, I can certainly understand the appeal of that. How did you switch from the life of crime to the life of Rhyme. Oh my God. I hate myself right now. I hate myself right now.
Hey man, nah, but it makes perfect sense. As cliche as it may sound, it makes perfect sense. But what happened was, I gave my team an ultimatum. I found out my girlfriend at the time was pregnant with my oldest son. I had just gotten out of I just gotten out of a case where I escaped with 7 years of probation. It was a crack case, possession with intent to distribute in 1997. The case was resolved in 98, but I found out she was pregnant, and I had no real means to kind of support.
Can't support a kid on candy sales.
Nah, well, I was completely out of school at the time. However, what I told myself was, okay, so for these 8 months, I'm just gonna dive into a covert operation, man. Go balls to the wall with the game, and just knock me up maybe about 30, 40, $50,000, and I'll be able to fall back, make sure my child has everything that he needs, and get myself somewhere, somewhere stable and safe to stay. And then I'll be able to fall back, and maybe I can figure it out from there. So that was my plan. Simultaneously, a team that I had assembled, become a part of, I should say, and that team consisted of Jason Jeter, who has been my partner, and he was my manager for a long period of time. DJ Toomp, who produced a lot of my initial hits, and helped me introduce trap music to the world, and my cousin Tremel. And Tremel's no longer with us, God bless his soul. But we were a team. We planned to go in the studio, and we had been working on a demo to shop around. And it was phenomenal stuff. But we just hadn't got it in the right person's hands as of yet. And they found out what I was doing because I didn't tell them of my plans. So they found out what I was doing, so they kind of called me into somewhat of an intervention. And they said, hey, listen, we're investing our time, effort, energy, and resources into you, and you're jeopardizing that investment by taking the risk that you're taking.
Yeah.
Just given that you're on probation, if you get caught doing what you're doing, you're already on 7 years of probation, you're going to be gone for 7 years, and everything's down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
I said, yes, but I have a child on the way. And the child ain't gonna look up and see my efforts. He's gonna see what we have or what we don't have. So if you could take me somewhere right now where I can have an opportunity to present myself to somebody that could actually give me a record deal, then I'll stop. And so everybody said, well, that's not realistic.
That's
man.
not how it works.
Not exactly. That's not how it works. And then Jason said, I know somewhere. And I say, see, that's why we on the team together.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he took me to a studio that he interned for. It's a studio in Atlanta called Patchwork. In that studio, he just happened to overhear conversations from the group PA that was a part of Organized Noise, and the Dungeon family. But they were working on their own project. And they were just like saying that they were looking for new talent. They wanted to introduce new talent on this album that they were working on. And he called up there. He said, hey, I got somebody who hotter than anybody that y'all got on your album right now, and anybody that you done seen in recent history. And they said, we'll bring them up. So we pull up, we walk in, and I look around. I'm like, damn, this, because it was eerily close to where I sold dope at. It was maybe 3 miles away. But I'd never been here, and I didn't know about it. So when I walk in and look around, I'm like, God damn.
Right under your nose the whole time.
How did I not know about this? You know what I'm saying? So then Jason walked me in the room, and then immediately I meet Reese and Mello. And, they asked me questions, just like, where you from, what you do, who am I, and what do I represent, so on and so forth. And then finally they said, I guess they called themselves putting me on the spot. They said, can you rap to this beat?
Oh, no pressure.
And very arrogantly, I was like, man, where's the booth? So I go in the booth, I do it, lay it down, maybe like 1 take, 2 takes, and everybody go crazy. And then when I walk back in the control room, they're like, where have you been? I'm like, man, I ride my bike like 3 miles up the road selling crack all day. And so then they kind of
apparently you guys don't buy enough crack, because I'm on the corner selling it.
And so that is how I got my, and from that point forward, I never looked back.
That's amazing. So you literally had to just jump on it. So you're practicing what, in your head while you're selling crack or out loud on the street? I mean, when are you practicing this?
Man, honestly, man, the odd thing about it is when we were trapping, it was me and a group of us. And I was the only one who actually knew what I wanted to do. I actually knew I could visualize where I could see myself. And I'd sit down with a pen and pad on like a stoop as everybody else standing up talking shit, smoking reefer. And I talk shit, smoke reefer, and did everything else that everybody else did. But every now and then when a thought came to my head, I'd sit down, I'd jot down whether it was a full page, just an idea for me to remember and to finish later, or they just knew that was, and sometimes I would miss money. People would say, man, you just missed $50 sitting down with that pad. And and I missed my money. I didn't make as much as everybody all the time, but who's missing money now?
Yeah. Long-term strategy. Dude, this is off topic, but whatever. Are your teeth real? They're so white. There's no way that those have to be.
Sure.
What? You got good DNA, man.
Sure. I mean, I have done some significant straightening and some fixing. There was some chips and things.
But they're completely white.
Yeah.
They match the sign behind you.
That comes from high levels of whitening, and I've kind of damaged my enamel in certain places. And sometimes, hot and cold kind of gets to me.
Yeah.
Maybe more than yours. So your teeth may be stronger than mine, but mine are whiter than yours.
That's right. That is, and it will probably always be that way. That's for damn sure. While serving 11 months in prison, he released his 7th album, No Mercy. I see this in Wikipedia or wherever I got this from. How do you release music while you're in prison? I mean, I probably shouldn't be surprised Tupac is dead and still releases music, but you're probably the only guy that gets in trouble in prison for working.
Well, I didn't get in trouble.
Oh, they said that you got in trouble for that somehow.
Nah, I didn't get in trouble for it.
Okay.
Nah, there's no way for me to get in trouble for it. But the way you release music in prison is you complete it before you turn yourself in.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So the 2 weeks after the judge sentenced me to a year and a day, but after your sentence, if you're on bond, you don't just go straight to jail. So you wait for a message in the mail where they tell you, this is where you're designated. This is when you should be there.
I see what it was. You filmed an unauthorized music video, whatever that is?
That's not when I was in prison.
Okay.
That was another time. That was back in 2004, maybe.
Okay, because it says while in prison in Cobb County, Georgia, he filmed an unauthorized
that wasn't
music
prison.
video.
That was really like a probation violation.
Okay.
That was county jail.
Because I'm like, who gets in trouble for working?
That was in county jail.
Okay.
And, I was allowed and granted permission to come into Fulton County jail, and I shot a video. It was really only supposed to be for the introduction to my show, because I was just getting out of jail. I was in work release, but everybody thought I was still locked up. So there was a big show, like an annual radio bash. Like it's called Birthday Bash, and it's on Hot 107.9 in Atlanta. And the biggest thing in the world was everybody knew I was locked up. No one was expecting me to come. But I was on work release, and they were going to allow me to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Fulton County Jail to film what would be my prelude right before I came out on stage.
You work a ton, a lot. Do you think you're kind of a workaholic? I mean, I feel like every time I read about you, it's like, wait, that overlaps with that. Wait, that overlaps with that. Like, you're always busy. There's no like, where's T.I.? It's always like, no, he's doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I have a lot of creativity just floating around in my head.
I got more troubles.
Hey, man, help yourself. See, now, my granddaddy told me, you do the job right the first time, you ain't got to do it again.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a smart man.
But nah, so I have so many ideas, so many aspirations, so many things that I feel like I want to do, and I feel like I have an opportunity to do, that it don't allow me to rest. Like, I wake up with ideas. I write songs in my sleep. I've written songs in my sleep, literally. Like, I'll be asleep and wake up and was like, yo, I gotta record that. If you ever go back to Paper Trail, there's a song called What's Up, What's Happening. I wrote that song in my sleep. That was a song that woke me up out of my sleep and made me record it.
Do you write it down on a pad? You keep paper down?
If I intend on going back to sleep, I do. But if I record it immediately, then I don't.
So you'll get up in the middle of the night and just be like, nope, turn on that
Yep.
recording gear.
Yep. That is the benefit of having an in-home studio.
For sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So you just started rapping on no track, or you just put it down and then you're like, all right, I'll work on that later? How does it work in your head?
Well, at the time, my engineer, because I was on house arrest and he kind of knew this about me, he was just about camped out all the time. Like, you know what I mean?
So you had a producer just living in your house because you're like, I can't leave.
Engineer. We'd have producers send us tracks, and as we in there working, you know, I just flip through different tracks and figure out, you know, which one was appropriate for whatever mood or whatever perspective I wanted to speak on at the time.
That's incredible. I think, I mean, you're obviously a very creative guy. You're not limited to one niche or one vertical. You've been in Entourage, Ride Along 2. I think people are surprised
I haven't been in Ride Along 2. I was never in that movie.
No. I see. It says you'll be in Ride. Well, I gotta edit that out. Otherwise, I look like a clown.
I will be in Ride Along 2. They mean 3. Well, maybe that's something Kevin and Will Packer haven't told me about yet.
I don't know.
I would love to do it. I think I'd be a fantastic addition.
Yeah, I mean, people put it in your media.
And since I am already very, very, very cordial with all parties involved, that shouldn't be hard to make happen.
I think people are surprised when they see rappers in comedy. I think
Wow.
probably because they're like, "Ooh, this guy seems pretty serious." Like, you know, he's been to the joint a couple times. That watch is all business. Like, people aren't like, they're like, Tip's not gonna be hilarious.
You don't survive with your wits about yourself without finding ways to laugh at this shit. You know what I'm saying? The kind of tragedy that we've seen, the kind of desolates we've endured. You don't survive that shit with your integrity, with you know, your mind still intact, without finding a way to find some humor.
How do you relax now? Because you can't be. I mean, you have 7 kids, so you have a lot. A lot of steam needs to be blown off, I would imagine.
I mean, not really. You know what? Even though I have 7 kids, I've never been in a position where I felt like, damn, what the fuck is all these kids doing here? You know what I'm saying? It's like, just like I said with my entourage, all my kids seem to have a different purpose that they serve to the family.
Okay.
They all play different roles. They all are different parts of me. So it's not like 7 kids doing the same thing at the same time. It's like each and every last one of them has their own platform, their own perspective. They have their own outlook on life, and their questions are different. Their diets are different. Their wardrobe and the way they approach school is different. All of them, they have different, like very different philosophies.
Some were born when you weren't doing as well as you are now, right?
Well, I'll tell you what. I told you that when my oldest son's mother, which is my first biological child, when my oldest son's mother told me she was pregnant, I was still selling crack on a bicycle. By the time he was born, I had a record deal, an apartment, a car, and I didn't look back ever.
So within 9 months.
Within 9 months.
You got your shit together.
I turned up.
Wow.
I turned up. I said when she, because I was working a job at the airport because I was on probation. I had to have a job for probation. I was working a job at the airport. Quit my job at the airport when I found out that she was pregnant. Quit my job at the airport. Completely started just like head first into the streets. That probably lasted about 3 or 4 months. But my probation officer still thought I worked at the airport. So probably about 3-4 months down the road, that's when they had the what did I say? The intervention. Come on, man, keep up with me here.
Intervention? What do you, I don't even.
No, that's what I told you. I said the team that I developed had an intervention with me, and they told me that I was jeopardizing everyone's investment.
That's what you meant by
what
intervention.
I was doing.
Okay.
And I needed to stop. It was somewhat of an intervention. So it was about 3 months into her pregnancy that intervention took place, and then they took me to see the guys, and probably about 3 months after that, I was signed. And probably about a month after that, I got my first signing bonus, maybe a month or two. So maybe a month before my son was born, I was straight. And that was really like just all faith and hustle.
Your parole officer must have been like, oh, great, he's got a record deal. All right, he's going to be back at the airport in like a month and a half. Like, you are on thin ice, man.
I mean, to be honest with you, he didn't find out I wasn't at the airport until I told him.
He still thinks you work at the airport. Like, I see this rap guy my kids listen to. He looks familiar. It's like that guy that works at the airport.
Where's Harris? Let me look at this Harris file.
Yeah. Oh, it's expired. Seems to be doing well. Is there any tension between like being a good role model for your kids, being a good role model for the community, and then staying relevant in like, I guess in the rap game? It doesn't always celebrate good behavior, man. You know, that doesn't always celebrate good behavior.
Well, I will tell you this. There's value in honesty. And I never pretended to be perfect for my kids. I'm very honest with them about my past, about my mistakes. I'm very honest with them about the lessons that I've learned. And I tell stories. Just like I told you this story, I tell them stories about times when, like, let's see, my son, you know, he's somewhat of an activist. So he has a very conspiracy theorist kind of mentality about himself.
Well, he's gonna be homies with your boy outside right now.
He questions everything, right? And I told him, he always tells me, you know, Dad, you have to. I said, hey, listen, son. When I was in 6th grade, I was suspended and sent home for refusing to stand for the pledge.
Really?
So yeah. So I was the
you're the original Colin Kaepernick.
You dig? So, and also he's a vegan. He's a complete vegan now.
Wow.
And telling me about what I should be eating. I say, son, I stopped eating pork in my family when I was 10 years old. So can you imagine a young black kid in 1990 telling his grandparents and his mama and everybody in his family, I don't want no pork?
You must, but you're like, but Louis Farrakhan says no pork.
Do you know? Well, it wasn't really Farrakhan at the time. It was my uncle. My uncle had been sent to prison for 10 years, and as he went, he began to study Islam, and he began to funnel the information back to me. Also, he gave me an experiment to do. It was to take a raw piece of bacon, put it in club soda, and set it outside to bear the brunt of the elements, and come back in 48 hours or 24 hours and find out what it was. And there were maggots. Well, I don't know if they were maggots or the strychnine worm.
Yeah.
And that is what got me off of pork at 10 years old.
Yeah.
And my granddad would say, oh, you going to eat what we cook around here? I said, well, I just want to eat. I'm cool. And I take my little candy money, I get me some McDonald's, and I have my little, you know what I mean? I used to...
You don't want worms from the pork, you go to
dig
McDonald's.
What I'm saying? I'd rather take my little candy money, I'm going to go and find me my own, some noodles or something that I can eat, and I'm cool. And I traveled down that road, you know, at 10 years old. So I tell him, listen, man, you ain't doing nothing new to me.
Mm-hmm.
And just all the little games and tricks that, you know, kids will pull quite naturally. I say, man, you suburb kids ain't gonna never get one over
soft.
me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to get up pretty early in the morning. You think you gonna get one over on Pops.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do you still not eat pork?
Nah, not at all. At this point, I don't even eat meat. I don't eat pork. I don't eat beef. I don't eat lamb. I don't eat turkey. I don't eat chicken. Just seafood. Just seafood. And I'm trying to cut out dairy, but cheese and butter.
It's good.
To me, that's the hardest thing. That's even harder than giving up meat.
It's tasty.
Yeah.
When did you first start to feel an obligation towards your neighborhood and community? Because I would imagine when you're selling crack, you get sign the record deal,
sure.
You're supporting your kids, right. Then you become famous, you become a celebrity, you're getting rich, you're getting famous. Mm-hmm. Like, there's got to be a period where you go, this is pretty awesome, and then maybe it gets old, and you're like, I'm over it. There's got to be something else.
Well, I had some experiences in the beginning and experiences along the way that kind of just kind of kept me grounded and focused, and I never completely like flew away. Now I got pretty high up in the sky, but I was always grounded back to something.
What kind of experiences?
Well, I say, for instance, when my uncle first got out of prison, I told you he was doing 10 years. So
Yeah.
I was 8 when he went away. When he got out, I was about 18. I just gotten my check, and he told me then, he said, hey, Tip, give me, I think he said $30,000 or something like that. And I was like, man, I just got this money.
Yeah.
And so I gave it to him because he said, man, you ain't finna do nothing but fuck it up. I ain't understand it at the time, but I was like, man, he been gone 10 years. It's my uncle. You know, he's had just an incredible impact on my life, man. How can I not give it to him? Go ahead. And I gave it to him, never looked back, blew the rest of the money after I got everything I needed to get for my child and his mother. And then I was back on kind of like check to check, you know, figuring out, hustling, figuring out how I was gonna stay off out the trap and off the streets. Cut to 6 months later, I made a way for myself. I had gone and I was doing like $10,000 a show, had shows booked maybe 6 times a week. And I was rolling at this point independently. And he put me in a car and he took me riding and we rode through my old neighborhood and he stopped me in front of a house that I was familiar with, but it looked much different. So I looked at it and he said, you see that house? I said, yeah, I just sell crack out of that house. I'm very familiar. What about it? He said, well, ain't no crack in there now. That's what we did. That money you gave me, I put some more money with it. We bought that house. I renovated it. And now I sold it to a family and it's a family living in there.
Wow. So he was in prison being like, I'm going to make money responsibly.
Right.
I'm going to figure this out.
And at that very moment in time, I was like, damn.
Because you'd never thought about, obviously you'd never thought about that.
I didn't. But at that time is when it dawned on me. I've sold crack in about 12 more houses around here.
So you should buy all of them.
Some more work to do.
Yeah.
So that's when I felt such a sense of redemption at that time. Like feeling like I fixed something that I helped to fuck up. And that's when I kind of dove into revitalization of the community, you know, acquiring properties and dilapidated pieces of land and building and developing. And then the market crashed and I say, shit, I got a day job.
Yeah. This investing thing was fine when everything was going up.
It was cool when it was good, but I don't have to bear the brunt of this.
So that part of you wanted to give back because you were selling drugs and maybe not benefiting the community so much back then.
Well, not necessarily that. That part of me wanted to give back because I was once one of those people
who
needed like some form of opportunity, some form of an experience, some higher level of education that I was not receiving. You know what I'm saying? And it's always crazy, right? How I hear the far right, I guess Republicans, the far right Republicans, I'll say that to put it plainly and nicely. They always say, well, all these people want us to do is give. All they never want to work for anything. And the thing is, okay, historically, our people have been the hardest working people, like us and other immigrants.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Have been the hardest working people who have helped to build this country. Now, the thing is about our people in particular, maybe it's because we've been here the longest, but every time we get ourselves to a place of independence and prosperity, it's something always done to sabotage us and undercut us and take us right back down to square one. I'll give you an example. 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? There was a group of black professionals who came together. There was a lawyer and doctors and just entrepreneurs who came together and they bought up hundreds of acres of land and created a town. They had their own airport, they had their own banks, they had their own schools, they even had their own hospital. Okay, and over time, I guess when the people in the surrounding areas, the angry whites came in and they wanted a piece of what they had going on and they wouldn't sell to them. They wanted to keep their dollar circulating within their community. They wanted to keep the prosperity right there within the group. And they bombed them. It to this day is still, not 9/11, it to this day is still the largest, most gruesome domestic attack of terrorism in this country's existence. They'll tell you it's 9/11, but really, if you look it up, is Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, 1921.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look that up when I get home. I've heard of that because I used to be the only white guy at work, and everybody used to be like, "You ever heard of Black Wall Street?" And I'd be like, "Yes," because it's Tuesday. I've already heard about it 40
Right.
times. Yeah. So
So it's things like that. And also I heard D.L. Hughley say, let's say back in, I guess the 30s, 40s, 50s, I guess you could say the Renaissance era or whatever. Black people had means. We'd worked and we, developed means for ourselves. We bought property, and the property that we bought, D.L. Hughley said that his grandmother owned a house right by the 105 freeway. Okay, but for them to build the 105 freeway, they public domained her property.
sure.
Gave her nothing. She was just expected to start over.
Yeah, eminent domain. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Excuse me, not public domain, eminent domain. Excuse my language. I'm thinking of different intellectual property.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
you got your IP terms mixed up with your property
excuse me. I
terms.
apologize.
That's all right. I'm a
I
lawyer,
apologize.
so I know that
Eminent
random
domain.
shit.
They eminent domained her property.
Yeah.
Okay, gave her nothing, left her to start all the way over. Now imagine if she still had that property.
Yeah.
What it would have appreciated to by now. You see?
Mhm.
So it's not that we don't want to work. It's not that we just want people to give us something. It's that every time we get to a certain level, there's always something done systemically that undercuts us, sabotages us, and brings us right back to square one. That is the issue here.
How many people really believe that like urban African American or poor people don't want to work? Like, I've never actually.
Well,
that's
I'm gonna
not
tell you
true.
something. I'm gonna tell you something.
I haven't heard that.
I come from the urban African American community.
Yeah.
There's a lot of motherfuckers there that don't want to work. But it's because they have been conditioned. They've been conditioned to be dependent on a system. Now, one of the things that Candice got right, you know what I mean?
Candice Owens, yeah.
Yes, Candice Owens. I'll tell you one of the things that we agreed on. The Democratic Party somewhat incentivized, back in the 70s and 80s, incentivized Black mothers with welfare, food stamps, Section 8. They incentivized Black mothers to cut off ties with the fathers.
Because you get more money
You get more money, or you would not be eligible for certain programs if you had a man in the house. But they knew that a woman without a man in the house raising a child, and the woman would, you know what I mean, that child would generally go out into the community, in the areas, in the neighborhoods that they lived in, get caught up in the system, end up in prison, and they would be able to have a cycle of recidivism over and over and over again. That's something that, she speaks on, and I have the utmost respect and agree. I agree with it in totality. But these are the types of things that have been done to deconstruct and sabotage our family values and our existence over time. There's been so much more, but these are the things that come to mind off the top.
How do you? There's a lot there, but I won't have time to deconstruct all of it. I wish I did. I'll come back and interview you, or I'll go on your show and then take over by accident. But how do you stay relevant, not burn out creatively? Because you're a long timer in the game. A lot of people, they get a couple records, maybe a couple hits, done. You never hear about them again. Over with. You've even said you've got a couple more albums than you're done.
Yeah, man. To be honest with you, I don't feel like music at this present moment in time, I don't feel like it utilizes all of my gifts.
Yeah? What do you mean?
I just feel like I have so much more to offer. Like, me being an artist has nothing to do with me being an actor, has nothing to do with me having three clothing lines, has nothing to do with me being a developer. I have a 200 plus unit development in Atlanta, mixed use development that I have that breaks ground in January. Has nothing to do with me opening a museum. I own and have curated.
What's the museum?
The Trap Music Museum.
Makes sense.
The Trap Music Museum is about the life and lifestyle of the most significant contributors to the culture and the subgenre of trap music. So you can come and you can see the Young Jeezy exhibit, the Gucci Mane exhibit, the 2 Chainz exhibit, the Future exhibit, the T.I. exhibit, the Yo Gotti exhibit, and not to mention the just released Nipsey Hussle exhibit.
My buddy used to be 2 Chainz's manager.
Word.
Charlie Jabali. Does that name
Okay.
ring a bell?
I remember the name
Yeah.
Charlie.
He's like, he used to be a super fat white kid.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that. But I'm just saying, like, so I have all of these different attributes and all of these different contributions to the culture that I don't feel like are able to be utilized if I'm only focusing on making music.
So you wanna put a bow on the music and then move into something else? All these other things, I mean? Or you think you'll keep doing music?
I want to continue. I still do music. I go to the studio quite often. And I have like an extensive catalog. I could release an album every couple months for at least 5 years. I have music, unreleased music going back to 2007, 8?
Wow. 10 plus years.
8, 9.
Yeah, so a decade plus of music.
Yeah.
So why are you doing your new show on PodcastOne, ExpediTIously? Because you've had a full career, so why a podcast now?
Well, to be honest with you, man, because I want to have, I want to engage the culture and the generation. I want to have healthy dialogue and just create a platform where we can have the discussions that will have the most significant impact and push the culture forward. I like to say, if I had a guy who was in the same position that I was in, when I was that young kid, when they had that intervention, when I was, before I became T.I. So if that kid can listen to me in our discussions and we can navigate him through the journey that he will have to take, going from where he is right now to where he aspires to be, and it can kind of circumvent a lot of obstacles and pitfalls that I went through and get him here faster without as much negative shit to hang over his head, then I feel like it's worth that much and more to do a podcast.
What are you doing to make sure your own kids don't get used to a good life, get a little soft, make sure they work hard? I had a kid 7 weeks ago, so I'm like, all right, how do I make sure he realizes that this isn't normal?
You don't say yes to everything. You make them work for it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like my kids, man, they don't get what they want. They get what they earn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I give you an example. Let's say Sweet 16.
Yeah.
For my oldest daughter, yeah, because I kind of had to do it to test the waters. You know what I'm saying? So she got a Porsche truck. Okay, the second person to get a car, he got a Honda.
He must have been like, excuse me, hold on a second. My sister said she got a Porsche truck.
He got a Honda. You know, well, first, he didn't even get a car. He got access to use a car. And the car I designated for him to use was my car. And I said, you could use that car, you know.
What kind of car was it?
It was actually a Challenger, Dodge Challenger.
Yeah, that's good enough. I'll take it.
Yeah. And he wrecked that.
Oh.
He totaled that out.
Yeah, no.
Then he got a Honda.
That makes sense.
Now you can't drive any of my cars.
Yeah.
You drive this Honda. And he actually fell in love with the Honda. You know what I'm saying? He's like, man, I like this.
He's lucky he didn't get a Razor scooter.
And he hasn't had an accident since. And he's become independent and self-sufficient. And he's now in Georgia State on his sophomore year. And after him was my 18-year-old son. And his first car was like a little beat-up Camaro.
Mm-hmm. Still a good car, though.
Yeah, it was a good car, but it didn't look good. It didn't look good. It was real like a beat up. It was a beat up Camaro, with no hubcaps. You know what I'm saying? Real dusty kind of matte black looking paint. It didn't start off matte black, but it looked matte black. But he never complained about it. He took care of it. And over a couple years' time, you know, after no incidents in that car, he then got another car.
This is completely irrelevant, but I'm going to end with this. At what point are you like, I'm going to wear sunglasses indoors everywhere, even when I'm on camera? Like, it's a personal brand choice, and I approve. I wish I could get away with it, but I'm like...
I mean, nah, it's just a cool... I mean, I hadn't even thought... I didn't detect I had them on until you just said something.
But you wear them everywhere. You were on the Revolt panel with them. They're everywhere.
I mean, man, I think it's at some point, man, it's the cool factor.
Definitely.
Because in the sun, you know, I don't want the glare in my eyes. Then you have to squint.
True.
So
nobody looks cool squint.
You know what I mean? So, and as I come in here, nobody said, "Hey, you're inside now. You can take your glasses off." Nobody said that until now. I'll take them off.
That's because you're teary-eyed. Like, nobody's like, hey.
I mean, I don't even think that. Look, there's a lot of bright light right here.
That's
you know
true.
what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think I put my glasses.
What kind of glasses are those?
These are Adidas, actually.
I like those.
Yeah, thank you.
I might have to get myself
These
a pair
are
of
Mach.
those.
I think they're Mach 1s.
I'm going to get a pair of those.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to wear them inside, and people will be like, why are you wearing sunglasses?
Yeah, they're Mach 1s, titaniums.
Those are dope.
DITA, Adidas.
Yeah. Oh, DITA, not Adidas. I heard Adidas.
Ditas.
Yeah. All right, we'll link to those in the show notes. Hey, man, thank you very much.
Man, thank you so much, man. I enjoyed you.
Yeah, this is really a lot of fun.
I see why they said you had a kick-ass podcast.
They're good liars, like I said, man, and I appreciate it.